What's up, guys? Michael Laron here with Author Level Up, helping you write world-class stories better and faster. And I create these videos because I believe that each of you has James Patterson level talent and you just need help unlocking it. So if you're new here, consider subscribing and click that little bell, ding, 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 to get notifications every time I have a new video. And this is part 2 in my series on how to calculate your royalties faster and easier. If you have not seen part 1, I highly recommend that you watch that by clicking the YouTube card at the very top of the screen. Otherwise, everything you're about to see here isn't going to make a whole lot of sense. So watch that video first and then come back. Now, in the last video, we talked about the ability to handle royalties. And I talked about how royalties are a major pain in the neck. And I showed you a macro that I developed for all royalties spreadsheets out there, but I showed you the one for Amazon and how it prepares the Amazon royalty sheet to make it look nicer. All right, that was what we talked about, and I teased that I'm going to be showing you a tool that may already be available to you that you can use to calculate your royalties faster and easier. Now here's the thing. This last video that I did, part 1 of this series, was the least most watched video on my channel. It was a disaster. But you know, I sometimes publish these videos as thought experiments because I'm sending my thoughts out into the future. I know that many of you have this problem. You're just not ready to solve it yet. And when you are, I hope that those of you who watched it will see this and say, yeah, didn't Michael Laron say something about speeding up royalties and automating it with tools that we already have? And then you can come back to this video. So I am sending a message in a bottle out into the sea. No, I'm just kidding. But I am very, very conscious of the fact that this is not necessarily the tool that many of you need right now. Now, I was wrong about that. I thought that many people would want it, but right now it just doesn't seem to be the right time. My tool of choice was already available to me to a certain extent. And for many of you watching, it already comes on your Windows computer. Now, I'm not talking about Microsoft Excel. As I said before, Microsoft Excel and Authors are like oil and water. They do not mix. The tool I'm talking about is Microsoft Access. Now, before you run away screaming, I always thought Access was a very difficult and hard to comprehend kind of program. It's not the sexiest thing out there. In fact, if you ask someone, have you ever used Microsoft Access? Most people are going to tell you no. Whereas if you ask, 10 people, have they used Microsoft Word or Excel, 10 out of 10 of them are going to say yes. Access is a lesser known program in the Microsoft Office suite. But the nice thing is that just a couple of years ago, it's 2020 as I record this, so just a couple of years ago, Microsoft included this now in the Microsoft Office suite. So it is available to you if you have an Office subscription. And it turns out that Access is just what we need when we want to think about royalties and managing our copyrights. Now, Access is what we call a relational database. When we say database, what I'm really referring to is a series of tables that look like spreadsheets that are connected to each other in this really interesting way that we call relational. Now, I know that this sounds a little vague, but we're going to get into what all of this means. Access is a relational database, which means it gives you relational information on how your data is connected to each other. Now, relational databases store information. So we're storing royalties, we're storing prices, we're storing units sold, we're storing book titles, we're storing ASINs and ISBNs, and each of these things may very well have its own little table. Those tables are connected to each other, and that allows Access to be far more powerful than your typical spreadsheet. One, because you only have to store the data once. It's not like a spreadsheet where you have to keep entering it and keep entering it and keep entering it. You only enter it once in Access, and then the program takes care of the rest. Relational databases, as I said, look similar to spreadsheets, but they are not spreadsheets. And you can link multiple tables together, which I think is quite powerful. In Excel, you can't link multiple spreadsheets together. Like if you have the Amazon spreadsheet, you can't link that to the Kobo spreadsheet or to the Draft Digital spreadsheet. They exist on their own separate islands. That is not the case with Access. Now, the reason I created a macro is because the macro prepares the data for import into Access. So now I've got an Amazon spreadsheet that I can import into Access, and then I've got a Kobo spreadsheet that I can import into Access, and then I've got a Findaway Voices and a Draft to Digital and a Barnes and Noble. You name the retailer, I can suddenly start sliding all of this data in its native format into Access, and then suddenly I have all of my royalties across all retailers with all data points in the same spot. That's what this is about. Think of your royalty reports like a plug, and think of Access like a socket. If you've got a 3-prong plug and you're trying to plug it into a 2-prong socket, well, you have a problem. So therefore, we have to prepare our data at its source to plug directly into Access. If you can do that, oh man, it makes things a lot easier. So anyway, all I'm saying here is instead of entering data into a database, you're just a steward, and you're making sure that the data gets from one place to another correctly. Isn't that interesting? Instead of entering in data onto a spreadsheet, which is what I think most of us do, we're just taking the data from our royalty spreadsheets and moving it over into another place and keeping all of the data intact. We're just making sure that everything goes correctly. Isn't that powerful? How much time do you spend today entering in data or manipulating it or changing it on your royalty sheets if you do anything at all? I bet it's probably a lot of time. So this process cut my royalty calculation time to 0, and it cut my time spent on royalties altogether by around 80%. Now, as I told you before, I kind of quit doing royalties, but when I did it, it took me about 4 to 5 hours per month. And I can actually import an entire year's worth of royalties into Access in less than an hour. Now, enough talking, right? Let's see the end result, shall we? All right, so we're here in Access now. Now, I'm not going to give you a crash course in how to use this program because I think that's really beyond what I'm trying to do here. I'm just simply showing you what is possible. All right, so we're inside my database and I've got a number of things here, but what I want to show you is how I can import this data directly into Access. All right, so if I go to the External Data tab here, let's click New Data Source, and we're going to save our Excel spreadsheets as text files. So we're going to save them as CSV files so that we can get them directly into Access. Fortunately, I've already done that. So what I'm going to do now is select a file from my computer. So I've got a royalty report here that I formatted and prepared for Access, and I've already got an existing table for this, so I'm going to put it into my KDP royalty table. I'll explain a little bit more about this here in a moment. So we're going to go through here, and again, I'm not going to explain what I'm doing here. I'm just doing this all as I talk to show you how easy and how quickly I can get all of this directly into Access here. All right, so boom. So there, it just says I finished importing a file, and why don't we go take a look at it? So if I go into the table here, I've got basically what looks very similar to a spreadsheet, but this is all of the information that I just imported. Now, some of these were already here, but the month that I selected is already on the table. This is really, really good stuff. So I don't have to do any data entry. All of the data entry is done for me because I'm just simply bringing in the information that already exists. It is that simple. So the way that this works is I have one table for my KDP royalties. Amazon had, I don't know if I mentioned this in the last video, but Amazon has 2 different types of royalty reports. There was one that existed before 2016 in October, and then there's another one that is in existence now that they use. So each one has a slightly different format, so I had to do macros for each of them. I've got royalties for Kobo. So I got Kobo in here. I've got Kindle Unlimited in here. You name it. I've even got ACX in here, right? So you think about all the royalties that you get. What if you could just plug and play them into Access just as quickly as I showed you, literally, all right? That's how fast you can get this stuff in here. That's what I'm talking about. If you don't see now why I think this is an amazing tool, well, I don't know if I can help you, right? But this is what I'm talking about when I talk about efficiency and calculating your royalties faster. Because now what I can do is if I close some of these windows here, basically what I did is I basically put together a condensed royalty table. So I mentioned that I have each of my retailers on their own table, right? And so what I do is I link those tables together so that I can start running what's called queries on those tables. So now this is all of the royalties on one table. And if I wanted to ask a question, all I could do is go to a query here. And again, I recognize that this may look a little complicated, but it's actually not that complicated. So let's say, for example, that I wanted to know how many books I sold on Amazon in Germany in the year 2015. All right, so from this query field, I'm going to select what I need. So I'm going to select the retailer, I'm going to select the royalty year, I'm going to select the title, I'm going to select the marketplace, the unit sold, and the royalty. All right, so then we come down here, there's certain things that we can do here, and you don't have, like I said, you don't have to pay attention to what I'm doing here, but I'm just going to say the retailer that I have selected is Amazon Books, and the year I have is 2015, and the marketplace is Germany, which is known as DE. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have it show me the sums. I want the net units sold, and then I want the royalty itself. And then I'm going to click run here, and boom. Don't laugh at me. This is chump change. I know. All my friends in Germany, I wasn't that hot in Germany in 2015. But this is, at the click of a button, all the books I sold on Amazon in 2015 in Germany. How cool is that? Now, what if I wanted to go back to the query and I wanted to say, okay, well, what did I sell on everything? So I'll just delete Amazon from the query here, and then I'll go to run, and then, oh, well, look at that. I sold some books on Amazon, but I also sold some books on Drafted Digital. Didn't make a whole lot of money, so it looks like these were free copies, but isn't that interesting to know? Imagine for me for a moment that you are a best-selling writer now, and you sell thousands and thousands of books every month. Wouldn't it be interesting to pull a report and know how many books you've sold in each marketplace? Wouldn't that be interesting? And isn't it a fun fact to know that the process of importing all of the royalty statements into this Access database that I just talked about is exactly the same whether you have sold one book a month or whether you have sold 10,000 or 1,000,000 books a month. It might take Access a little bit longer to consume the information, but it takes the same amount of time. Isn't that interesting? That is what I'm talking about here. Stop doing it the hard way with Excel. Use Access to do this. Oh, and to take a line from Steve Jobs' handbook, let me show you one more thing that I have done with Access that has changed the game for me. Now, here's the other thing I want to show you because I had to hook you guys with the sexy part of this, and that is how to calculate your royalties. Maybe I misjudged how sexy that was, probably. But what I really developed this database for, and the royalties was just kind of an afterthought that actually became a really cool thing, was I developed what I call a book database. And this was a way for me to get more organized so that I could be a better manager of all the different books that I have. Because you guys know I've got over 50 books. I've got a lot of podcast episodes, a lot of YouTube videos. How do I stay organized? So what I developed in Access, and I know that this is going to look a little strange. So what I did was I figured out a way to enter all of my books into like this spreadsheet table that you kind of saw with my royalties. And then what I did is I built a front end. And so the front end, what it does is it allows me to be able to search for any one of my books, and I can look at all of the different things that I've done with that book. So let me show you how this works. So if I wanted to, I could go up here in this search bar, and I can type the title of any of my books, and I typed in RE, and it populated my short story collection, Reconciled People. So I'll click enter. Okay, so now it took me to that book. All right, so I've got a book ID. Every book that I write gets assigned an ID. That just makes it easier to find and makes it easy to link up to any kind of report that I want. And you'll see here that I've got a book type, which is a short story collection, I've got the title of the book, which I can edit if I need it to. I've got the subtitle. I've got the series name. I've got the series number. So imagine if you've got a science fiction series, you can put that information in there, or any kind of science fiction or fantasy series. I've got the genre. I've got the subgenre, the ebook price, the publication date. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I need that and don't remember what it is. And then I've got the word count. So what I can do if I ever wanted to, I've got the word count for all of my books in here. I could run a query. What's my lifetime word count? Kind of interesting, isn't it? And then here I've got some tabs. So, one of the things that I do, if you read any of my most recent books, I version my ebooks so that I know what I have done with each of my versions. So here I've got a version log. And then on the copyright page of the book, you'll see the version number that the book is on. I do that for myself. I don't do that for you guys. I just do that for myself to stay organized. So version 1 was the publication date here, and that was the first publication. But in 2018, I redesigned the ebook from the ground up because I got Vellum. And so I redesigned it in Vellum for ebook and paperback. That's kind of interesting. And then when I started this database, I realized that I had a problem. And so on April 18th, I changed the versioning in the ebook. So I have all of this information captured here. All right. So that's kind of interesting. I've got the book description log. So I do the same thing whenever I change a book description. I always track that. So now I can put that in my database. Now I put this on here. I just thought it would be kind of a cool idea. If I do a promo, wouldn't it be interesting to capture that information? How much did it cost me? What did I learn from the promo? I can put all of that in here if I ever decide to promote this. What is the price? Do I ever change the price? Well, I can put that information right here. What about the cover information? Who did the cover? I can't remember. It's been like 10, 20 years. So remember, I'm building this database to last me for decades. So I basically put all my cover designers' information in here, the cost, and even the fonts on the cover so that I can remember all that information if I need it down the road. What about my editor? If I need to add additional information in here, I can just simply click and start typing. It is that easy. So all the different types of editing I've got in here. What about the paperback information? Well, I've got all my paperback information here. That's helpful. What about the audiobook? Oh, I have an audiobook of this. When did I release that audiobook? I don't remember when I released that. Okay, well, I've got all the information of the person and the details of the audiobook here. Even when for some of the books that I've gone exclusive with ACX, when the rights revert, that's awfully helpful. What about the distribution, like all the different links to the book? Well, I've got all those here too, because how many times do you have to go searching for links for your books when you're doing promos or when you need to add them to your website or whatever? Well, I've got all the links here, so I don't ever have to do anything. If I wanted to, I could run a query that would generate all these links in a nice little spreadsheet that I could copy and paste if I need to. Heck, I could even copy and paste these links from here directly. All right, and then I've got sales. I haven't quite figured out how this is going to look yet, but it would look something like this. Right now, this is just dummy data. This actually isn't tied to this book, but you kind of get a picture of what this would look like. So I basically get a 360-degree view of how any one of my books is performing just by clicking on these tabs here. All right, so I can see lifetime units sold. I can see the lifetime royalties that I've made. I can see a breakdown in the number of countries that the book has sold. I can see a format breakdown, which, like I said, this is dummy data. What this should say is ebook, paperback, audio. You get the picture, right? So that's all very helpful. And then I can just click this drop down if I want to go to another book, right? So if I want to go to my book Android Paradox, for example. All right, so now I can look at all the information for Android Paradox. See, this is why I think a database is very helpful. It helps you remember what's going on, helps you stay organized, and it helps you be more efficient. And when you can start tying your royalties to this, then it takes on a whole nother life, right? Because then you can store your book information, you can tie your royalty information to each of your books, which gives you more information on it. You can start even recording your accounting expenses, like the expenses that you spend on your author business. You can start tying those to your books, right? So you spend money on editing, you spend money on cover design. You spend money on marketing, you can just enter that into the table and tie it. So you have all this information that exists on all these little tables in Access, but it's so powerful because it can recognize all the relationships between your data, which I think is powerful because we as indie authors, one of the things that we need tools to help us do is analyze the data that we have in our businesses. And as we look to the future is going to be more interconnected. There are going to be more APIs, application programming interfaces, things that we can connect to and download data from and hook up to and connect our data to. That future is very near. Having a database like this, I think, is a bet on that kind of future. And just let me put it this way. There's so many things that I have seen now as I'm entering all my books into this database. I don't have them all in there yet, but as I start to see these, I'm like, wow, there's some things that I have. Like, for example, let me show you something. So I used to have a book. So I have a series right now. It's called Indie Poet Rockstar. It's basically like self-publishing guide for poets. If you are a poet, help a brother out. michaelaron.com/indiepoetrockstar. But this book, it sells a few copies per month for me. It doesn't do bad. And then I've got Indie Poet Formatting, which is basically how to format a poetry collection for ebook and print. Super niche books, right? Well, back in 2015, I put together a box set. It was called the Indie Poet Power Pack. And I charged $7.99 for it. I pulled it down. I don't remember why I pulled it down, but I look at the market now and there's a lot more poets who are self-publishing. Like, this book was ahead of its time for me. And this was a great deal. And I was thinking to myself as I was putting it into the database, even though it's unpublished, I'm like, why did I ever unpublish this book? See, this helped me uncover an opportunity. Because now what I can do is I can go back, because I've got all the files, I'm going to go back and I'm going to get this out, I'm going to clean it up, and I'm going to publish it again, and maybe it can make a few more bucks for me per month. See, this helped me identify a gap that I didn't know that I had, right? Because this book was unpublished, I clicked on publish, I didn't think about it. Well, now that I'm entering into the database, and now I see all of my books as data points, not only as products, but as data points, I see some interesting relationships. What might a database for your books look like for you? And I also have to tell you this. This may not be something that you need today if you have one book or two books or three books. But when you have 100 books, how are you going to be organized? How are you going to organize your information and your data? That is my question. If you enjoyed this video, like I said, this is just a demo of what I have built. This has been a major game changer for me. If you'd like more information on how I built this, check out authorlevelup.com/copyright database. I've got a blog series that is 12 entries long that basically walks you through step by step how I did this. You can read between the lines and figure it out for yourself. So don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.
Perfect.